I take out. I don't put in. Boy, that's what she said. The Alto Nights is currently streaming on HBO Max. It was directed by Barry Levinson, who has had quite the filmography. I mean, seriously, go to IMDb and take a look. I mean, everything from Good Morning Vietnam all the way to The Bay. With films like The Natural, a terrific fucking sports movie that everybody should watch. That should be required fucking watching if you have not seen it. Rain Man, Toys, Sleepers, Sphere, as well as Bandits. I mean, in all honesty, he's actually done some pretty goddamn good movies, some really funny movies, some really moving movies. And then The Bay, which was really shit. So this was written by Nicholas Pileggi, who did Goodfellas and Casino. And boy, I don't know what the fuck happened to his writing talents, but they didn't translate to this. The Alto Nights is basically about Frank Costello, who took down the mob as we know it. If you didn't know that, sorry, that might be a spoiler. I don't really care. You have Robert De Niro and Robert De Niro. Am I talking to me? I'm the only one here talking to me. He plays dual roles, Vito and Frank, and basically the idea is they tell the story through pictures and, little bits of film and stuff like that. Vito, essentially, working with Frank. Vito's a little more of a hothead. Frank is a little more of a business-minded individual. They create an empire. Vito goes back to Italy after a certain crime, gets stuck over there because of World War II. Frank takes over. People like working for Frank because they don't have to worry about him blowing a goddamn gasket and killing people. And then basically the idea is Frank is going to be taken down because Frank decides to talk. He decides to be a rat. Nah, see? Why that sounded like Skeletor as a mobster, I don't know. That is pretty much your basis of this film. That is one of the most aggressively boring mob movies that I have seen in quite some time. I'm not the biggest fan of the mob subgenre, but I recognize there are some really good ones. Goodfellas, Casino, and some others. And unfortunately, The Godfather, the fucking Godfather. How iconic is that? Maybe not Sofia Coppola's acting in The Godfather 3. Let's just forget that and be glad that she went into goddamn filmmaking and decided to be behind the camera instead of in front of the camera. But you do have Deborah Messing, who is almost 60. That is mind-blowing to me. And Catherine Narducci, or Narducci, however you say it, from The Sopranos. And yeah, it's set over a few years. Mainly set in 1957, where we get some trials and tribulations and stuff like that. And we get some, nice set pieces. It looks like a mob movie. It's wearing the skin of one, but it's just a skin, husk over, basically a hollowed out corpse. That's all it is. There's no substance. There's no meat. There's nothing you can invest in. You have Robert De Niro, who, by the way, I fucking love for just calling out the bullshit in politics. Really, Robert De Niro's a fucking terrific guy. Genuinely accepting. Seems like he is a great actor. Seems like a good guy, even as old as he is. My God, when he was in school, they didn't have history. And it's nice to see him playing dual roles. The thing is there's nothing that you can point to. No scene you can point to. Even if this was just more drama than action, and say, yeah, I'm glad I watched this. It's not even the worst movie of the year. I don't even think it's going to be on anybody's worst movies of the year. Maybe it will. I don't know. Everybody's different. But it does end up being one of the most boring films of the year because it offers absolutely nothing you haven't seen before. As a meditation or a commentary on mob duties, it doesn't really amount to all that much. It's on HBO Max. If you want to check it out, I'll get into spoilers, but there isn't much to spoil. 3, 2, 1, spoilers. So it cost around $45 to $50 million and made basically a fifth of that, which for you math majors is around $10 million. And for those of you that still aren't math majors, that's not $50 million. We see Frank getting shot in an elevator by a guy named Vincent. And Vito betrayed Frank. You betrayed me, Vito. No, I kid, of course. It was the other way around. And the fourth wall breaks by Frank. Basically an interview piece where he's talking about what he did, how all this stuff happened, and then we see it unfold in all the bippity-boppity ways that you would expect. Is that offensive? Probably. I don't really care. It offers nothing new. We start with getting involved in the fixing of the 1919 World Series, as well as Prohibition, to alcohol, the cause of and solution to all of life's problems. You're out there, beer baron, and I'll get you. No, you won't. Yes, I will. Won't. And yeah, we see Vito go to Italy. Vito ends up getting with Anna. That's Catherine's character, and takes over her money and everything and stuff like that. But then she wins a suit, which kind of makes Vito go a little bit nuts. I still say Catherine, my word. Still looks great. And Deborah Messing's Bobby says, you give out so much money, lending money is a good way to lose money. And yeah, we have Frank with Bobby, we have Vito with Anna, which doesn't really last all that long. There's an FBI director or Federal Bureau director of narcotics. I'm going to call him Harry Asslinger because it's just funnier. Because I don't really care about taking the piss out of this stuff. If you're expecting a historically accurate review, I'm glad you clicked on this channel, but I don't know why. I'm just giving my opinion as a presentation. It would be impossible to cover every single high point and low point of this whole taking down the mob. And the idea is there to at least sink your teeth into something. But it's like sinking your teeth into a stale cracker. Ironic, because there are a lot of stale crackers in this goddamn cast. And Vito basically did what he did. I talked about that. Frank ends up testifying. And essentially, Frank ends up testifying but pleading the fifth. Or other people plead the fifth. Frank decides, you know what, maybe I'll just do stuff voluntarily. So he does stuff voluntarily. And for a while he does fine, and then he decides to walk out because he's not going to name names. And then there's a guy named Dwyer, who's a senator or some high-ranking politician. At this point, I just got to where I just stopped caring, because we got the shot in the elevator, and then we got the build-up to all that. And then Vito ends up basically taking over after Frank gets shot. And by the way, he got shot in the head, but somehow the bullet ricocheted around because he wasn't so bald. And he was able to do stuff. Nobody's going to get the ricochet bald joke unless you are a wrestling fan. And Bobby wants to make sure that he gets out of the business. Frank decides to retire. And basically everybody decides, just let them decide on their own. Let Frank and Vito decide what they're going to do. Albert will not stand for that because he is a friend of Frank's, and basically because this idea is the feds are going to take down Vito for a bunch of stuff, drugs and other stuff he's gotten involved in, and being a hothead, killing people. Frank decides to send Albert away to Cuba, start a business, this kind of stuff, stay away from the grand jury, that way he's not implicated. Well, after getting involved in doing stuff at a barber shop, including the blade job and the hot towel over the face, he gets shot because Vito is a fucking, crazy man. And yeah, that doesn't necessarily work. Frank has a plan basically to not get anything on him, but take everybody down. There is this gathering of this guy, Barbara. They're coming to get you, Barbara. It's a big old farm and everything up in Canada or somewhere or New York. I think it's New York. It's like upper New York, close enough to Canada, in all honesty. You might think there's not a lot of vegetation up in New York if you've never been there. And mind you, I've only been to Connecticut and Boston, but whew, oh boy. So there we are. There we go right there. So anyway, the idea is get all these people gathered and have cops just stop them and gradually get their IDs and take them down. That's what they end up doing. Frank has somebody driving him, an associate, stops and gets some apples and everything, and just conveniently happens to get up there and wait, what's going on here? How did this happen? He basically set all this up as a way to take down Vito. Vito eventually got 16 years. They ended up in even the same prison. Vincent, the guy that shot him, they got off on the charge because Frank said, nah, that's okay. I don't really want to get anything on me or hurt my wife. He ended up pretending to be kind of an invalid, but then got put away in prison and died. And yeah, that's basically it right there. Frank died at 73, and at the age of 82, with his wife by his side. Vito even had Anna with him, when he died, and I guess apparently Anna really did love him and did whatever. It's fine. It's fine. If I just kind of glossed over a whole bunch of stuff, don't worry. The movie already glossed over a whole bunch of stuff. So, nevertheless, yeah, that's really about it for the Alto Nights. Expecting a detailed review. I don't know why the fuck. I mean, it's just a mob movie. A mob movie with a really great idea that just ended up... It would utilize historical pictures and film and stuff like that. And again, had a cool look, cool aesthetic, but it was just fucking hollow. Gets an F. Sorry. It's not very good. Agree, disagree, what I said. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter, Letterboxd, Blue Sky handles in the description. I'm John Ritland. Until we night again, happy trails to you.